So, to begin, I have to note the fact that I really don't know what the future of this nation is, whether we're going to even have another election. I was debating whether to go down the historical route of, like, the privatization of America, because I just watched a really good video on that. But I've decided I'm going to talk about, if we have another fair election, if we have a chance to fix this, how do we unwork this hole we've gotten ourselves into? And the only thing I see for us, we're not going to have any change from the Republicans, and I really doubt the Democrats are actually going to bring any progress. If anything, I think the issue with the Democrats is if they get a majority, then you have the party subdynamics. The progressives, which have a part of the Democrats, and then you have the neoliberals, that the leaders of the Democrats have those views. And so, I feel like the inevitable outcome of any Congress majority for either party is that people say, oh, that party had the majority and everything got worse, and then they don't vote for that party until they say the same about the other party. You have Congress, you got a Democrats had a majority in all the houses, and in both houses they had the presidency under Obama. They had both houses at the start of Obama's first term. Supreme Court could go either way, because that, you had 5-4, 4-5 decisions. One of those conservative justices would switch sometimes. And with all of that done, what do we get? We got Medicaid, which is something. But Obama didn't fix the core issues of the 2008 recession, and I don't think he could have. I don't think he had the support, because we have Democrats who hold the Bill Clinton-like views. Frankly, I think Bill Clinton, I hate that guy so much. You want to know, like, I'm not surprised people went for Trump over Hillary Clinton. And frankly, I don't even know if it would have been, I really don't know if we'd be in a better spot right now if Trump had, I think we'd be in a worse spot now, or the same spot in 2024, if Hillary Clinton won the 2016 election. Bill Clinton is such a bad leader. He signed the crime bill. He basically is a Republican. He's too close to Republican, and I think Biden also. Bill Clinton to me is the start of the whole reaching towards the center thing. And the problem is you have current leadership, Chuck Schumer being the worst example. I fucking hate that guy. Who are doing the same thing, who have the same views. They want to reach with the center. Joe Biden was like, I'm a center of the aisle politician. I can get support from Republicans and Democrats. And then, like, day one, the Democrats say, sorry, Joe, we're not going to be able to vote for anything because Mitch McConnell and Kevin McCarthy said no. The leaders of both houses on the Republican side said no. And see, like, if you wanted to, you could argue, oh, but you had, what was her name? The bisexual senator who was actually just a conservative, but was using the fact that she's bi to make herself seem like she's progressive, and then completely flip-flopped in office. Kristen Sinema, I think was her name. Yeah, her. And you can point that out, and you can point out John Manchin, or whatever, and oh, these people were basically conservatives, but they're under the D tag, so when critics of the Democrats say, Democrats had a majority in Congress and didn't do anything, it's that. They're going to look towards the numbers of D candidates. And if Robert F. Kennedy, that guy, when he called himself a Democrat, people were judging, if Robert F. Kennedy had run as the presidential candidate and won, people be judging him as a Democrat. He holds all the Republican views, but, like, it doesn't matter. If they want to criticize the Democrat, they're going to point to that. And frankly, I think the party should cash blame for that. Yeah, these politicians don't represent your party's views. They don't represent your party's values. But you still get... You're still running them. You still have them under your party leadership. They're still contributing to your party. I don't see why you wouldn't blame the Democrats for that. I think that's just a bias if you think, oh, well, you know, you look at the Democrats, you go, oh, well, those are just outliers. Then you look at MTG and Laura Boebert and correctly identify that the Republicans are liable for what those politicians say and do. I will say it again, and maybe this is some subtle misogyny or something, but Lauren Boebert, the fact that she's running in the party of Christian values or whatever the fuck is just mortifying. She talks about how she calls herself a born again Christian or something, and then as a Christian in 2023, she's fondling and being fondled by her date at a Beetlejuice showing. I mean, geez, Lauren Boebert, like, what the fuck? And yeah, she could be like, I'm born again, right? Because she's a teen mom. She got pregnant at 18. Her mom got pregnant at 18. You know, her Lauren Boebert's grandmother was like 54 when she became a grandmother, which is mortifying. You should be ashamed of that. Teen pregnancy isn't cool. I don't like that we're normalizing that so much. It's not okay. I feel like this whole country has just lost its fucking mind. That's the real bigger issue here. I can talk about any one part, but you have to look at the bigger picture. The Christian Saudi Arabia. That is what I want to call this nation. It's capitalism and religious zealots. That is what it is. It's complete insanity. And corporate greed. It's corruption and insanity. I mean, what? The Satanic Panic was 1980s? Like, the targets of the Satanic Panic were not women who claimed that, you know, who spoke out against the witch trials. We're talking about something that happened when Pokemon cards were being printed. We're talking about a mania that was broadcast on TV, colored TV. And it's still going on. You still have people lining up outside of Planned Parenthoods, you know, holding up signs that say, you know, abortion is the devil's work or some shit. You know, something that really pissed me off about America is we hear so much about personal freedom and manifest destiny. But at the same time, the government does want control. Nowadays, they're passing all these bills to restrict access to pornography. They're talking about banning social media for teens because it harms them. And so, on one hand, you have these people that argue it should be my choice. Everything should be my choice. But on the other hand, you know, like they say they want everything to be their choice. When it comes to vaccines, when it comes to wearing masks, when it comes to owning guns, individualism. But then, when the government decides they don't want something, they want to ban your access to abortion. They might ban your access to birth control. They might, I mean, who knows how far they'll go on the contraceptive thing. I don't know. I'm scared about that. You know, I'm it's the environment. It's the environment I'm in, and it makes me really worried. What will we see soon? Will we see, like, corrective rape of trans men? I mean, it's not a far-fetched thing. It's completely reasonable to fear that right now. And by the way, that as horrible as it is, that is a real thing that has happened to trans women in the South and southern states. They've been, some southern states have, you can get married as a child. It's disgusting, but it's true. especially that 16 to 18 range where you're technically above the age of consent in some states, and you're not legally an adult, but you might legally be able to be pimped out by your parents. It's horrible, it really is, but that's reality. It's not getting any better by ignoring it. But yeah, that's kind of the mindset I'm in right now. I'm wondering how long until we start hearing about corrective rape. There already are anti-queer conversion camps. And again, there's corrective rape in the South. That could just be, who knows? At this point, you don't know. You can't be certain of anything. A billionaire just took over our government, and that was like 4 months ago now. 3 months ago, but it feels like it's been a year. That, and you have Speaker Mike Johnson, whose wife was on her. I'm not gonna make jokes like that. That's stupid. That's just idiocracy in the other direction. I shouldn't be making sexual jokes. There's nothing funny about this. Yeah, he said something that could be taken a certain way, and you can all giggle in the back of the class about that, but what's happening here is serious. There's people being deported from this nation who are legally to be here. They're being sent to a mystery camp in El Salvador. And we just never see them again. Now, maybe they are all alive. Maybe they're being killed, but they just saved Garcia because they knew that the media was talking about Garcia. I don't know. I'm very worried. And you have the new act that was passed, the Take It Down Act, which, mind you, Donald Trump said he would use that to censor his critics. And then it was passed, and there were only 2 votes against it in the Senate. And those 2 votes were Republicans. I am baffled. Now, even Bernie Sanders voted for that. Cory Booker voted for that. What's up, America? What's going on? I really hope that I'm just, according to every politician in Congress except for 2 Republicans, I don't know why they voted no, but according to everyone else, this is all just, I guess I'm just wrong. I'm overreacting to this. Maybe it's not going to be used in a bad way. We won't know. Having Bernie having voted for this bill, I hope nothing bad happens from that. It better not backfire. I trust you, Bernie. If you're going to make this judgment, I believe in you. To be fair, the bill is written pretty clearly. It's against non-consensual intimate imagery. Maybe we're all getting gaslit here. Maybe Donald Trump said he'd use it to censor his critics, knowing that he doesn't need this law passed to censor his critics, just to make Democrats vote against it, so then he could say that Democrats are pro-revenge porn or something. I don't know. So maybe I'm being sheep there. I'll leave the Take It Down Act until we see something happen of it, because there's so much that we can look at that's actually happening right now or has already happened. One thing that I think about that makes me really sad is when I think about the opportunities that you hear about children getting in books and in old biographies that I know I didn't have. Things like just having personal freedom. Now, part of this might be that I grew up Catholic and my parents didn't want me leaving the house. And frankly, if they knew about the internet, they probably wouldn't be letting me have a computer. Well, now I'm on my own, but when I was younger, it is kind of a miracle that I actually had access to the internet. I don't know, maybe my parents were just out of touch. I never heard anything about transgender people or furries from them. actually didn't even hear them ever mention being gay, but I think it was like implied gay is bad. It was such a gay people. They wouldn't even talk about gay people. I don't know. I certainly never. I don't remember my pastor ever saying there anything about anthropomorphic animals. I feel like I would have remembered that. But like, just the idea of when school ends, being able to move around freely, it just, and having places you could go, like hanging out in the mall, hanging out at anywhere. I don't know. I can't even imagine the concept. I just think, get out of school, go on the bus, and it takes you home, and then the next morning you go on the bus and go to school. And I think that's the life for most children. They talk about social media addiction. As opposed to what? It's not an addiction if there isn't an alternative. That's just a factor of life. You can't say that someone has, I don't know, like, if you only give someone peanut butter, you can't say they have a peanut butter addiction when they only eat peanut butter. If you only give teens social media, you can't say they have a social media addiction when they're not going outside and playing soccer, or going outside and, I don't know, what else do you want them to do? Like, what are they supposed to do? We have, unless you live in a city where you can walk places, how can you expect kids to do anything? I mean, if they have neighbors that are their same age, maybe they could play soccer or something. You want to be playing street hockey? You want to be doing that? Didn't think so. So, like, if you were to take away social media from kids, I think what you're going to see, and even if you give them social media, they don't have anything else to do. So, like, I don't know, you just go outside and start fires or something. Maybe be like Robert F. Kennedy and kill animals and dissect their remains. Just play with their decomposing parts. Like our current Secretary of Health and Human Services. See, this is the thing. When anyone talks about social media addiction, or they talk about children having declining, children grades, or extra college applications, SAT stuff, or behavioral issues in teens, I'm just like, respectfully, I don't give a fuck what you're talking about, because look at the leaders that kids have to look up to. Like, even when you hear about teens that are, when you hear about boys that are hitting their female teachers, or they're groping and sexually assaulting their teachers, can you really blame the boys? They're children. These are children that have been raised to do this. It's horrible what they're doing, and I think it's disgusting. But I was raised at a time where I was told that America was progressing, and that this was the future, and we had a black man president, and we'd be able to have Medicare for all in the next election. And then that didn't happen. Hillary Clinton stole it, and that was it. And after that point, I've kind of slowly been, at first I was judgmental of Trump supporters, and I was like, how can anyone support this guy? But at this point, I can't blame the anti-vaxxers. I can't blame the people who are alcoholics, drug dealers on the streets, robbers. I can't blame any of them. I can't blame the people that shoot their own kids for being gay, because, like, how do you look at an individual in this system and say, you're wrong, without it just being a personal bias? Like, yeah, okay. If a kid were shot by their parent, it would obviously hurt me to know that a gay kid was shot by their parent for being gay. But that's because I'm queer and I support queer people. If a Andrew Tate supporter was shot by their parent for spewing misogyny, I mean, are we going to look at that the same way? Here's the thing, though. There are people that would say that it's less negative if a gay kid is shot by their parents for being gay than if a traditional masculinity kid was shot by their woke, crazy feminist, quote-unquote, parents for spewing misogyny, aka honoring the belief of J.D. Vance. So at that point, it's just personal preference. I'd like to live in a world where we could act rationally, but we know that's not true. And the fact is, if a Tesla plant was burnt down, I'd be cheering. When that one Democratic governor's house was burnt down, I was like, oh no, that's not good. It's just personal preference. We've lost the fundamental ethics and morals of our society. We already have. It's just leftists are right now in the crossfire. If we get out of this situation, what do we do? Where do we go from here? We effectively have a divided nation. It's a nation at war with itself. It's just a political war instead of a physical war. Because you can't have a physical war with America because they have, they'll send in their armed police and they'll send in their military, the National Guard. They'll bring in the troops from abroad, and then at the last resort is they just nuke you. Maybe it'd be different if you're fighting on American territory instead of fighting from a different nation. Because if China were to come invade the U.S., the U.S. would nuke China. If the U.S. were to invade China, China would nuke the U.S. If the United States attacks itself, who do you nuke? And that's how we got here, I think. I think we all know it's true. Russia did this. I think Russia. It's fair to say that Russia's interfering in our politics. I don't know if they're interfering with the election, but they definitely. We know Trump's working with Putin. Trump even said, "I think I might be getting played by Putin." And it's always been true. Donald Trump has always supported these dictators, even in his first term. He said that when Kim Jong-un speaks, his people listen, and that he wants his own people to do that. He's glorified the leader of China, he's glorified the leader of North Korea, he's glorified the leader of Russia. These are not free nations. So we are under attack from within. And I make this point to argue that literally nothing else fucking matters. I'm not going to, attack you if you were to say, watch anime nowadays, or even if you were to, order food from Uber Eats. I think I said that in an earlier episode. I was like, oh, just eat your Uber Eats, and, Americans, consumerists, eat your Uber Eats, watch your porn, do whatever. Just consume, degrade. The night of NYPost. Delayed NYPost, actually. But consume and degrade and keep the cycle of filth going. But at the same time, what's the alternative? I don't blame Americans. At this point, I won't blame Americans for, and we'll see how long this lasts, but I won't blame Americans for resorting to material goods to fill the void in our hearts. Like, I'm not gonna blame a teenager for starting fires when they have literally nothing of meaning to do. It's not like they can go, play in the park or play in someone's lawn, because that's probably a private park. You have to, you're trespassing if you're there. You're trespassing if you're in an abandoned house because it's owned by some private equity company. So yeah, maybe kids should just go out and start fires and kill animals and play with their decaying remains. Who the hell am I to say you shouldn't? What am I, some kind of prude? I don't think it's a good, healthy thing to do, but this also isn't a healthy society to be in. We're all going crazy here slowly. We're all falling apart. I know it's true. Half the country's in therapy right now. But that's probably more than that. I should look some statistics on that, though. America therapy stats 2025. I'm gonna see what I find. Mental health statistics 2025 from Forbes. Do you want to trust Forbes? I don't know if I want to trust the CDC anymore. Here we go. It's a CNN article. Fuck it, we're gonna look at 3 of these and we're just gonna figure it out. We're gonna figure it out on our own. I will say, there's something nice about being able to just talk, ramble. Hold on, which one of these is... Why do I have multiple... Oh, there we go. Depression. One in 8 people age 12 and up have been depressed, but that's again statistics of who gets diagnosed. Like, I'm not diagnosed with depression. I don't have any diagnoses. But fuck, I'm tired. Shit. These are the biggest concerns. What are the biggest concerns facing teen boys and girls? 90% of adults say the country is facing a mental health crisis. Okay. Why are depression rates growing? That is a very simple question. Has a very simple answer. The world's in a difficult place right now. Yeah, that's true. Stressor after stressor after stressor. Compassion fatigue. I'm suffering from it. At this point, I should probably just, like, give in and become some degenerate on watch people die. I should just make an account on my main username. And just start watching human beings get killed and just go with that. Fuck it, compassion fatigue. Selective serotonin reuptake inhibitors may be more addictive than heroin. Says the guy who's addicted to heroin. What the fuck? How could we take anything he says seriously? Except that he's the Health and Human Services Secretary, so we have to be afraid. We don't trust him, but we do have to be aware of what he says. Okay, don't overdose on marijuana. That's a good point. What are the biggest issues facing teen boys and girls? Yeah, look at Congress. Look at who is influencing them. Look at who they have to look up to. Not like social media influencers. I mean, look at the president right now. Can you tell anyone here, any teen, that they need to focus on grades when their country's... The grades that you earn today aren't going to matter. That's the simple truth of it. I don't think we're going to have a nation in a year. Even if this is your last year of college, you shouldn't even give a fuck. You're going to live in a dictatorship where you're going to get a job at some textile mill for minimum wage. It's not going to be raised. Men and masculinity. That's the Andrew Tate thing. Andrew Tate. The thing is, the reason that Andrew Tate was so pervasive is that what he's speaking to is a demographic that looks at how their father was doing, looks at how their father's father was doing, and feels like they're a failure. And Andrew Tate gives them something to blame. Society's making men feminine. Society's making men feminist, feminine, and pushing down masculinity and whatever else. And women don't appreciate good men, you know, that kind of stuff. Because at the end of the day, when you're in this, let's look at the dating environment for men. Right? The vast majority of people use dating apps like Tinder, and I've spoken about Silicon Valley, and I think we all know that Silicon Valley's shit. But that doesn't stop people from going on Tinder to look for partners. And I don't think anything good comes out of Tinder. Like, yeah, there's people who made good matches on Tinder, but I think that is just luck. If you throw enough things at a time at a wall, some of it's gonna stick. You throw people together at random, and some of them are going to click together. Those two people that met over Tinder could have also met over, like, the, I don't know, whatever interest they had, the film club, or a film analyst group, or a book club, or a gaming club. Like, they could have also met through other means. They just happened to meet through Tinder. But if you go on Tinder, you have people who are abusive, you have people who are narcissistic, who are... And all of these... Like, there's these random pyramid schemes people get in. They get this inflated sense of ego, and they bring that into their Tinder conversations and their expectations for a partner. You have people who are just looking for a meal and, you know, just want to trick people into paying their dinner. You have people who have an inflated sense of ego from social media. Like, this is not a conducive environment to any sort of real love, especially when everyone's struggling financially. Like, I'm not going to blame the people who use Tinder for a free meal, because have you seen how expensive everything is? Everyone's struggling to get by. It's not a nice thing to do, but how am I going to actually point at that? How can I point at someone who's using Tinder to skim a meal off of someone who's looking for actual love? How am I going to look at them and say, you're wrong for doing that, when you have the President of the United States and the billionaire that just sabotaged our government, just disregarding the laws, and the billionaire is writing himself contracts from within the government? Like, how am I going to blame anyone else when you have this kind of leadership going unchecked? And that's what I come back to. And I know I get a lot of flack over this, and I've had people tell me that I'm insane. I've had people tell me that I'm a pervert or whatever for saying this shit, which, go ahead, tell me. Again, it has been, I have just taken shit constantly. You will not say something to me that actually hits me at this point. You think I don't know how to take insults? I was raised Catholic. Fuck off. I was told that God's going to send me to hell eternally at the age of, 10, 9, 8, if I don't follow these random rules and confess my sins every Sunday to this mysterious voice behind a wall. You will not break me. You can push me away, but you can never actually break me. At this point. Yeah, I'm crazy. I think it's true. But where was I even coming from? Where was I? We're talking about Andrew Tate. Okay, so he's speaking to people that are feeling underrepresented. Because we're all underrepresented. It's just the Democrats, they wave this idea of equality and pushing, supporting. Yeah, at this point, it's identity politics. I don't like to use the term because I think it has been co-opted by the right. But I've been using the term constantly for the last couple of days, so fuck it. I'm going to say identity politics. What did Kamala Harris have to offer anyone? She was going to give you $30,000 tax refund if you buy a house. $30,000 tax deductible return from buying a house only helps those that can buy a house. She said that she was going to raise minimum wage, but she said that 3 days before the election. I think a lot of the people who, in 2020 when Kamala Harris was announced as VP, and in 2024 when she was announced as president, I think a lot of the talk around her was, she's a black woman, therefore she's progressive. But that's not true, and it's actually racist and misogynistic. It's sexist and racist to say that a black woman is more progressive just because she's a black woman. Are we missing that point? Is that... Hello? What did Kamala Harris have? What did she promise? What did she say she was going to do that would have actually fixed the economic issues that we have? And what did Biden do? That's what it comes down to. I think Kamala Harris lost in 2024 because of because of the Joe Biden administration and how weak that was. What did that do? It didn't stop MAGA. It didn't... What did Biden do? What did Biden do? He saved the macroeconomic scene, but Americans were still hit hard personally, and those people are going to be voting for you, or not voting for you, or voting for your VP, or not voting for your VP. And I saw this happening. I saw this happening back in the beginning of the Biden administration. I knew this country was going to flip-flop back, because it was abundantly clear that he was not going to help people. What did Biden... I mean, abortion was outlawed under Biden. Did he try to pack the court? Did he... No. Did he do anything? No. He put snipers on the roof for the protests outside the Supreme Court. And that's the difference between a Democrat and a Republican right there. Republicans will fuck you over. Democrats will fuck you over and also try to focus hard on keeping up the mirage, the veneer of normalcy. They'll fuck you over with a smile, and they'll say the economy's better than ever before, and they'll remind everyone to be peaceful and put snipers on the roof to keep things under control. Republicans go in, they fuck shit up, and they rile up people, and they'll punch however hard they have to get what they want done. So I don't blame the teen boys that cling to figures like Andrew Tate, who promise that violence and aggression are the ways to get what you're looking for in life. I think there are a lot of hurt people, and they see what's going on in the national scene, and they see leaders like Trump, the Jan 6 insurrection, people like J.D. Vance, the Heritage Foundation, who call for hatred and bigotry and pushing women down. It's effectively like a 4chan a 4chan, the poll board, politics board, is who's running our government right now. ASMR of deported people? Like, are you fucking kidding me? That's just sadistical at this point. This isn't even about politics. This is just sadism. This is like Jigsaw type shit. Let's listen to the ASMR of immigrants getting deported. Hey, you want to play a game? Here's the cries of a bunch of Venezuelan immigrants getting deported. What the fuck? Like, actually, what is happening in this government? What is happening in this country? And how can any of us, why are any of us concerned about going to work? I know it's because that people see, if I don't go to work, I'm gonna be broke, I'm gonna be on the streets. That's how they keep us. That's how they keep us submissive, and they keep us chained down. Because the poor are told to look at the homeless. The homeless, you know, the vision of homeless people on the street, struggling to get by, begging for a few pennies, a few dollars, that keeps the poor in line. The poor keep the shrinking middle class in line. And the middle class keep those who are, you know, the fear of falling to a middle, or the actions of the middle class and the poor people are what keep the wealthy where they are. How do we get out of this? I should probably go finish reading the rest of this article. And I also should really be linking these articles down. I'm sorry for not doing that in the other videos. I'll go back and edit those, I think. I'll try to. I think. No, I will. I will do that. How they're experiencing school is just such a ridiculous point to argue. This country's in the middle of political chaos. I don't give a fuck what, you know. If I was a teacher, listen, if I was a teacher, I'd be like, everyone, for the rest of this year, I'm adopting a you do what you can policy. Everyone gets perfect grades, and we're just all gonna sit here and talk, and I'll teach if you want me to, but I'm not pushing any of you to do homework or whatever. Obviously, I would never be hired as a teacher because I don't push this idea that you must make line go up, you must make grades go up at any cost. I don't care that your grandma just died. I don't care that your mother's ill and ailing. I don't care that your father lost their job. You must make the line go up. All I can do, I'm laughing now, but like I'm laughing the laughs of someone who's just seen their family get massacred and is reliving this memory. Family. I don't have a family. See, there it is. It's the laughs of defeat. Fuck, like 3 years ago, in the last 3 years, so much shit has happened. I did not think when I released the Maker Medley that the next 3 years of my life would be spent fighting for a place to live and watching this country deteriorate. Fucking, you know why I wanted Kamala Harris to be elected? I was hoping that she would do something to make ADHD medication accessible. Well, I also wanted Kamala Harris because I didn't want Trump, but like that was what I really wanted changed. That was the change I wanted. Was it gonna happen? Probably not. But I just, you know, that's where I'm coming from. Okay, I just want to be able to live. And I want to go off a war on drugs tangent, but I need to read this article or else I'm just going to never get around to reading it. But I'm going to go on the tangent anyways because I have it in mind. Okay. The war on drugs is the biggest example of hypocrisy I think you could point to in this nation. As far as the whole freedom and manifest destiny shit. I mentioned the vaccines and the masks and people complaining about that shit. If I decide that I would like to get Adderall, it's a class 1 substance. So not only do I need to get it prescribed to me, but the prescriber of that substance has the government breathing down their neck on how many people they prescribe it to. I've been pretty transparent in my server, which is a private server, so maybe no one here has actually seen what I wrote, but I tried for probably about, I think, 5 months or 6 months to get Adderall. It was not going anywhere. It was a ridiculous process. You'd think if this country was truly free, I'd just be able to get it from the pharmacy. Obviously, you can't do that in this country. And it's so bad. I seriously think ADHD people right now are a group that is falling through the cracks and no one's even looking at. Because we get fucked over by the medical care system, right? I don't have any medical record because how the fuck am I supposed to get a medical record? Every action of getting a medical record costs $800 or some shit. There was one person I saw for an ADHD, for a stimulant diagnosis, and they said, yeah, you have ADHD. And then they had me go take a heart test to make sure that the stimulants wouldn't kill me, supposedly. I don't know how realistic it is that it would kill me, but it's just, like, it's my body. It should be my choice. I go in, I get this test done. It's a $35 payment because I'm on Medicare. Or Medicaid, I'm on Medicaid. Medicare is for the elderly. And I go in, and I get this test done, and then, like, 2 weeks later, the person asks to speak to, like, someone from my childhood after I get this test done, and I'm like, I don't have anyone to give you from my childhood. Who do you want me to give you? Like, I can speak about my childhood, and they're like, yeah, I just need someone else. And I'm like, oh, okay. Like, do I call in the I Wanna community? I mean, obviously I'm not going to do that, but, like, what the fuck do you mean someone from my childhood? Okay, here's my Discord messages from when I'm 11. Can someone from the I Wanna community come in and analyze my Discord messages from when I'm 11 and decide whether I have ADHD? Obviously being sarcastic here, but, you know, so that attempt falls away, and they say they just need to speak to someone. I'm like, who do you want? I don't have anyone from when before I was 10 or whatever you're asking. Anyway, so the point is that falls away and nothing comes of that. And then I get this $800 bill from the hospital for the heart test, the test that I already paid for. And so I'm thinking, okay, fuck you. I'm not paying this $800 bill because, one, I never agreed to pay $800 for this procedure. I agreed to pay $35 and I paid it. I paid it off my debit card. Fuck you. And two, $800 is a lot of money. Now, I have $800. At this point, I think the debt's ballooned to like $1,200. I could have paid $800. I have like $2,000 or something dollars. When I got that bill, I had $2,000 in the bank. I could have spent that money, but I'm not going to do it because fuck you. The medical system is so blatantly greedy. And I think nothing will describe my own experience with the medical system better than that. I can't work a job because I'm inconsistent, which I believe is because of ADHD. I can't get the medication for ADHD because it's restricted by the government. The government doesn't want me to be, it's shaming me for being unemployed and wants me to get a job. But I can't hold a job because I can't get the medication, which is held by the government, which the government's choosing not to give me. And again, I'm not saying I want Adderall free. I have the money. If it costs $300 a bottle because I don't have a prescription and I have to pay out of pocket, I'll pay the $300. There are people who have it prescribed who are paying out of pocket, who are on private private medical insurance. The ADHD thing pisses me off because I'm like, I could do so much more. I could have done so much more if I didn't spend 6 months going on that whole journey and just to end up in the same space. I've been suffering with this disease my entire life and it's never going to get better. Now, granted, if I had spent those 6 months figuring out the black market, maybe I could have gotten Adderall earlier, But I still been fucked over by the Trump administration, so does any of it really matter? No. And that brings us back to the article that I'm trying to get myself to read, but I keep going off on tangents for. September 18th through October 10th in 2024, I presume. Which is a very different time to now. Well, yeah, I was chill in September 18th through October 10th because I thought Kamala was going to win. Anyways, I'd really like to do another survey right now, see what people say then. Strong and good at sports. This is the Andrew Tate stuff. Do I need to read the article word by word? Should I be doing that? I guess I should. The survey was conducted September 18th through October 10th among 1,391 teens aged 13 through 17. While the data did show differences among them, such as girls reporting more of a pressure to fit in socially and look good. Tradwife, thanks. And while boys said they felt they should be strong and good at sports more often. Alpha male misogyny. Thanks TikTok. Thanks Instagram. Many of their perspectives were similar. Highly important to find a career they enjoy, making money, and cultivating friendship in the future. What else would... Wait, aren't those like the three things that you balance? Enjoyment, money, and relationships. Isn't that... What else would be enough? What else could you say is important? What did they not say? We are prone to negatively stereotyping teenagers as superficial. I believe you are. These results are an excellent reminder that teenagers are often serious about the schoolwork they're doing now, and they are looking ahead to their careers. They're being told by TikTok that the woman should be cooking all the time, like it's the 1800s, except not being told about what life was like in the 1800s. And they're being told that men should be misogynistic and carry swords around and threaten devils, demons that haunt them, or whatever the fuck Andrew Tate's yapping about. The pressure to perform. The pressure to get good grades. Yeah, this is something that no one wants to talk about, so you're going to keep having teens go down different extremist paths because they're just being pressured all the time. Those who didn't see it as an even split. What? Oh, okay. Both teen girls and boys perceived girls as getting better grades and being favored by the teachers. So, for those who said that teachers had a bias, or that school was easier, getting good grades was easier for a certain gender, teen girls and teen boys said girls got better grades. Girls on average do get better grades than boys. Okay, so this is just a correct, is statistically correct, and teens know it. That's the thing too. I'm not going to keep going on the teens thing though. We're mostly adults here. So. But grades aren't a zero-sum game. That is true. That is true. Unlike crypto schemes. Something in schooling isn't working for boys as well as it should. Or that... Yeah, I'm sure. Schools are set up in such a way that kids who sit still and are less impulsive are going to do well. That's true. That doesn't have to be a gender thing, though. Girls can have ADHD. People with vaginas can have ADHD. Let's not be stupid here. And we know there's a big difference in brain development in early adolescence, and that's the part of the brain that's used for impulse control and critical thinking developed later in boys and girls. We are teaching to half the audience and need to broaden the way we approach education. Said Ickard, who wasn't involved in the report. Okay. Just had to chime in on those 2 cents. I mean, too, I wasn't involved in the report and I'm yapping about this. This person plugs their book. Good and bad news when it comes to what teens said about their friendships. Only 2% of teens said they didn't have any friends. Lower than expected and feels positive. Friendships are especially important in adolescent years. Teens are at an age where they're less likely to turn to an adult for support. They're going to reach out to their peers before looking to an adult, and peers can be great ushers to adults as needed. What? Is that true? Peers are... Do any teenagers say, hey, this is a problem you should talk to a grown-up about? What teenager used the term grown up? That sounds like something that you'd say when you're in elementary school. I cannot see a high schooler saying grown up. Or a middle schooler saying grown up. That sounds like something they'd say in a kid's cartoon when telling you to talk to an adult. Although they have friends, but 85% of boys and 95% of girls say that they have a friend that they can turn to for support. So 15% of boys and 5% of girls say they don't. Lose the mythology that boys don't make close relationships. Where is the source on that? Where does it come from? Maybe that's true, I don't know. Maybe that's a perception that people have. We need to take very seriously that we continue to socialize boys to feel that vulnerable emotions are... we need to take very seriously that it is bad that we continue to socialize boys to feel that vulnerable emotions are unacceptable. Boys and adult men who don't enjoy the strong social support they deserve. Talk to J.D. Vance about that. Talk to the Heritage Foundation. Talk to Speaker Mike Johnson. That's coming from the conservatives. I don't think I've ever heard any progressive, feminist, socially progressive, anything, men or women, argue that men should be this. It is only coming from the alpha male Andrew Tate type in the religious crowd. This is really not about what I thought it was going to be about. I thought I was going to talk about the modern situation. Are we in a recession? We are. Let's do a vibe check. Okay, fuck off. No way they're writing like this. Fuck you, CNN. We can't start bandying the R word. I hate this article. I immediately want to stop. Mental health statistics. Oh my god, there's a fucking BetterHelp sponsorship. You can't make this shit up. Where is this article made? Published in 2024. A year ago. Still, it's gross. I get that off my screen. I should censor the screen when I have that up in editing this. This is like key political climate evidence. 50% of adults have a mental health condition who are gay. Transgender, 4 times as likely. Yeah, no shit, it's really shitty to be here. It's about the United States, so 2022, multiracial adults were more likely to experience mental illness. White have 24%. But see, this is where I think it comes down to reporting. I don't think the Hispanic and black people feel less stressed than white people. I think that Hispanic and black cultures are traditionally more socially conservative, and so mental health treatment, which has always been frowned upon in America, but it is getting normalized for Hispanic and black kids slower than it is for white kids. And there's another sponsor. I hate you, Forbes. You have like 2 pop-up ads for supposed online therapy. The thing, I think any statistics on mental health issues are going to always be tainted by the bias that you're reporting based on who seeks treatment. Which means they have to be willing to seek treatment or have someone near them that can report these issues. And that means they have to have awareness of the whatever routes will get them reported here on the statistic. And they have to have money, because this is the United States. Nothing is free. Everything is a private service. And I have not seen any of the articles actually mention that fact. Like, are you considering there might be people who are mentally ill who don't get treatment because they can't afford it? Are you considering there might be people who are mentally ill who don't trust the medical system? And rightfully so, by the way. The medical system currently headed by Robert F. Kennedy Jr., who dissects dying, decomposing animals, and kills animals, and plays with fire because he's a psychopath. Those are all actual signs of a psychopath. I'm not kidding. And also has Dr. Oz and Dr. Phil on this board. Like, would you trust the medical system here? Okay, this article from Psychology Today this article here is arguing against it, but what I was thinking of was that there is this, it's called the Dark Triad right here. Fire setting and cruelty to animals, which two things which Robert F. Kennedy embodies because he did both of these, and people who were around him. Okay, sorry, I got sidetracked by what was down there. Yeah, Robert F. Kennedy is just such a... he's an embarrassment, but also look at the bigger medical system. You have to look at that. You have to take a step back. When you look at people who are anti-vax, when you look at people who don't trust science, who think that, there is a cure for autism and it's forcing your child to drink bleach because they hear it on Facebook. You look at, you think, what parent would trust Facebook for medical information? But how do you trust the US doctors for medical information? The people who are raising kids nowadays off Facebook science are the adults who grew up during the opioid crisis. And frankly, there still is an opioid crisis. It was getting better, but now Robert F. Kennedy's going to ban Narcan or something. Yeah, Robert F. Kennedy's looking to ban Narcan. I actually cannot think of why he'd want to do that. That is just to cause... Well, it's because he has this view. It's this view shared from the Heritage Foundation, the other conservative think tanks, and Robert F. Kennedy embodies it. And Dr. Phil embodies it. They don't hate illness. They hate the unwell. And they think that addiction, mental health issues, violence, antisocial characteristics, they think that they're purely a symptom or purely a disease that is of the person, not of the environment. And this is something that actually mainstream psychology has clung to. Again, I don't see anyone arguing that teens should actually be feeling depressed right now, and that isn't bad because their whole world's blowing up. Every time I hear depression and anxiety, it's always trying to sell you some treatment that can help, because we live in a capitalist, consumerist country, and healthcare is just another venture to monetize. That's the truth of it. And that's the reality of what we're seeing. And why we get to the state where people would have Robert F. Kennedy, Dr. Phil, and Dr. Oz as the head of their medical board. This is the reason that people would trust someone like Dr. Oz, who has absolutely who is just known for peddling scams. This is why Dr. Phil gets to have a show, because he brings in the ratings. When he should, frankly, never be allowed to practice anything again. He should never be looked to for advice by anyone. But media outlets will put him up on a podium because he brings people in. And those people see that Dr. Phil has a talk show and just assume that Dr. Phil must be qualified because he has a talk show. There's also the sickening individualism in this country, and I've always hated this, and I don't see it ever going away with the way that we've been conditioned. It would require a complete reconsideration of how we view society and ourselves. We look at the way that we're taught to think. we think about ourselves and our role in society, not what society needs, but how we can make a future for ourselves, make an independent life for ourselves. And this is why you see a decreasing involvement in politics. People are concerned about their own well-being and their own survival. You know, if being involved in politics causes them to feel negative, they stop engaging in politics because they need to rest and recharge for their next day at work or their next class. This is why I'm trying to shake the boat, and I hope I'm doing it. I hope I'm rocking the boat the right way here. I think I've caused a number of people to at least consider politics as a social obligation, though most of them are not Americans. Because it's tempting to just be like, oh, I don't like dealing with politics, but then you have to consider what's going to happen if I don't deal with politics. If I don't vote, who am I empowering? You're empowering everyone else. I think there is a growing apathy towards politics, and in the context of the United States, I don't blame it. But in the context of the rest of the world, like, listen, I get it. It is tempting to just be a little silly fella and just tune out everything else in the world and focus on yourself. But if you don't do politics, politics will still hit you. And I think these growing attacks on the LGBTQ community are the best way to get through to other internet users. You have to be concerned about this stuff. You have to be considering politics. You have to be considering what's going on in the government. You have to make that a priority. And when the government is dysfunctional like this, you need to stop trying to just turn the crank that you have and stand up against this. A general strike might not do anything now. I think it would. I think a general strike would hit people now. It has to be a prolonged one, though. You can't say we're going to have a general strike for 10 days, because then companies will cut their costs and cut their expenses and just hunker down for 10 days. And then after those 10 days, it'll be business as usual. And maybe some employees get fired or get queued for termination at the next layoffs if they participate. If you have a prolonged general strike that doesn't have an end date, though, then people are going to be sweating on day one. If you say it's a strike for 10 days and then you keep it going afterwards, they're sweating on day 11. But that would require people to be willing to put their own job on the line, especially in this market. This is not going to happen. I don't see Americans as being willing to stand up. And prove me wrong. Please do. Go ahead. Prove me wrong. Show that I'm just a pessimist and I've been burnt out and quote-unquote fallen off. And now I'm the anti-action political speaker that I would have spoken out against earlier. Please do. Do tell me that I failed and that I'm wrong. Prove me wrong, please. I'm not saying that in the smug, prior you person way. I'm saying that in the, I really do want to see people go on general strike. One of the reasons that I've chosen not to work in this country, that I've declared I will never work, is that I don't support this machine. I don't support the industrial complex here. And so I said early on, before I even had graduated high school, that I was not going to do it, that I was going to find a way to piece some life together between disability reports, disability services, food stamps, welfare, food banks. I was going to try to make some way for me to suspend myself between all of those. And I'm happy to help other people who want, in America, who want to have a disability application process. I'm happy to help them to do that. I lied on my own disability report. I'm not ashamed to say that. I'm proud of saying that because, believe it or not, ADHD is not actually a valid reason to have disability payments. And you know why? It's because they make the argument that with proper medication and treatment, ADHD people can function in society. The irony there is palpable. It is truly. It just feels like a slap in the face. It's just rubbing salt into the wound. The government that doesn't allow you to have ADHD medication that causes a shortage nationwide will not give you disability benefits for ADHD because with medication, it's not a debilitating condition. Okay, and can I have that medication? No. So I went on and wrote a whole bunch of stuff about depression and made some reports up. It's not hard. It's actually really easy. It was really easy back in 2023, I think, when you get on disability. What you gotta do is you just gotta say that you're so depressed that you can't get out of bed. And then you have to be careful because they do have, this sounds like a conspiracy theory, but it is true. They have agents that will take pictures of applicants, that will stalk applicants when they're processing your application. And they'll look out and see, like, if you say you can't leave the house because of a physical, because of back pain, and then they see you doing roofing work, they're going to report that to the agency. Although nowadays, with Elon Musk cutting all these positions, maybe they don't even have that anymore. Although nowadays, with Elon Musk about to cut Social Security, you might be putting your application in for a service that gets cut before you get it. That'd be really sad, though. And again, I would just die at that point. I would not be able to live. It really is a tough time to be online right now as an American. Like, I'm happy for all the people that don't live in America. But God, it is kind of hard to see them doing all this fun stuff and be like, wow, I wish I was in the mood to do that. I wish I was in a place to do that. I joined the Iwana community, and it seems like a really great place. But I also am now feeling a lot of, like, FOMO or just longing for not being in this state. Not being in this place. Maybe Canada will open up its border to American refugees. I kind of doubt it, though, and I don't actually blame Canada for that. Although, actually, wait, no. Because the Liberal government did win that election, so they do have control of of the government. It's a liberal minority, but it's a Liberal government, so if Canada is able to take in that talent from the United States, of all the healthcare workers and scientists that leave, it would look good for Canada. Sorry, yawning. It would look good for the Liberals, for the Canadian government, wouldn't it? I feel like the Canadian government would want to do that, just so that they can say that science improved under them. Healthcare improved. We got new... Well, it's not even that they have to say it, it's what Canadians will feel. Canada elected this Liberal government, and if people have their standard of living improve, then they'll think highly of the Liberal government. It might hurt the New Democratic Party, but it will at least help the beat down the Conservatives. fellas, I'm tired. That's the ultimate. That's just the point I'm at here. I'm tired. I just want this to end. I don't know how it would happen, though. Assuming that there is another fair election, we need more Gen Z and more millennial people to run as independents. I think that's the answer. At least for the House of Representatives, just run as an independent. Take that position away from the two parties. Neither of them are serving us well. If you can run as a progressive Democrat like AOC, then do that. But really, I think the best thing is run as independent, especially in those red areas. There are areas that I don't think a Democrat will ever win, like Marjorie Taylor Greene's district. But if an independent ran, I feel like she could be outed very easily by an independent that just yelled some populist phrases and did some local events with the community. And that's the key, I think, in this political landscape. We need less people running as we just with the House of Representative seats. The area you control it's small enough that you can reasonably be an independent presence there. You can be someone that people know, even if they don't know, even if they don't have a party to look towards to assume how you're going to vote on things. The two-party system, the major parties, they're always going to have control. Even if, hypothetically, this is a big hypothetical, even if a third-party candidate were to win the presidency, they'd be beholden to Congress and the Supreme Court, which have people appointed by both parties. So you really couldn't have a third-party government, even if you had a third-party president, because anything that they need Congress for, they'd have to side with one of the two parties. And anything up on appeal with the Supreme Court is going to be held to the standards of the judges that were appointed by one of the two parties. And if you want to put a new judge up, you have to get approval from the Senate, which is, again, composed of the two parties. We can get a growing independent presence, especially in those red areas. I think that's what you have to do if you live in a red area. If you're a progressive in a red area, don't run as a Democrat, run as an independent. And don't just sit around, don't wave signs in the street trying to change Congress' mind. We need people to occupy Congress. We also need people to vote. I hate seeing red seats in blue states because it just screams to me that people assumed that it screams to me missed potential. If you have a blue state and you have a red seat, New Jersey has a few. People, you've got to go vote. Even if you're in a blue state, you have to vote. You might not change the president, but you might change who's in Congress. And with Congress, yes, the majority of your House representatives are still blue, but every Republican in Congress is playing into MAGA. Every Republican in Congress is another tool that Speaker Mike Johnson, who's a fucking horrible person, gets to bully. Every senator who's red. I think people usually think of senators, and usually senators in blue states go blue, and senators in red states go red, but you just have to keep in mind, if you're voting, if you have a red representative in Congress, that is contributing to the Republican majority, even if your state goes blue. Even if 8 of the 9 representatives in your state are Democrats. That one Republican, if it is Republican, if it's not an independent, is a tool for Speaker Johnson. I don't even know. At this point, I don't know. I don't know how we're ever going to bring the country back to it. I don't think it's going to come back, but I also don't know what the future of America could even be. You could say that, oh, it should dissolve like the Soviet Union, but I don't see that actually happening. And even then, if we have a dissolution of the American states, who would take leadership? And of what ones? Even then, I can't see it happening. I can't see the United States giving up its land. Because even if, even the Republicans that hate the Democrats, they want the blue states. They want the blue state industry. Republicans know that blue states contribute more to the federal government than they take. And red states do the reverse. They overwhelmingly take more from the federal government than they give payback in taxes and sales tax and tariffs and whatever else. If you were to have America dissolve, well, California has Silicon Valley. New York City is a blue state. It's in a blue state, New York. We're just so fucked. That's just the reality of it. We're so fucked. This nation. Look at what's happening right now. Just look. There's people including citizens, getting arrested and detained and having their belongings stolen by ICE. Having their persons stolen by ICE. Their car broken into, their family members abducted and sent off somewhere. Including lawful residents, including people who are legally here, who didn't even commit any gang-related crimes. They're just being labeled gang members. They're put on a plane. They call their loved ones and say, oh, I think I'm going back to Venezuela. And they get sent to El Salvador. No one knows what the fuck's going on. Tariffs crashing the economy is the one bit of silver lining in this. I think what we need to do in America right now as a collective is just say fuck it. Say anything goes. Let's just institute our own personal, hands off, no judgment. We just don't report things to police. We just let whatever happens, happens. You see someone stealing? No, you didn't. And I'm not just saying that for food items, which of course we already should have not been reporting people for stealing that. But like, if someone goes to Best Buy and steals a computer, you don't be like, that's a gaming laptop. They clearly didn't need it. They could have stolen a cheap one. No, you just let it happen. Like it already was there. I think we just need to all personally just sell it. You don't have to quit your job, but just stop caring about your job. Stop working on your job. Do the bare minimum. Remember that quiet quitting, that buzzword that that the media was trying to put in our minds? Oh my fucking god. I hate AI. I fucking hate AI. Sorry, that was not constructive. that was just me yelling. I'm doing that more and more as the series goes on. You can watch my descent into insanity as we get to... We're at 54149, I'm at 54150. Quiet quitting is a stupid phrase, and I probably shouldn't be using an article that was from Infestopedia. Look, the idea is simple. You just stop selling your own health for this. Stop hustling for this company that doesn't care about you. Go in, clock to work every day, and then do jack shit. Do things very slow. Just chill. Take breaks. Take every single break you can. God, maybe I should try to get a job. Except then I'd lose my unemployment benefits, so I can't do that. I'd lose my unemployment, I'd lose my disability, I'd lose everything if I tried to get a job. Even if I got fired like 2 weeks later, it's horrible in this country. Fuck this country. I'd serve crack before I serve this country. The only reason I might go into the US military is so I could like get deployed near Canada and then assassinate my entire squad. I'm just mowing them down. And then I'm running across the Canadian border with whatever supplies I can harness with my, like, you know, drop, of course not the weapons, but hands up and with, like, some big box, and I just run. Hopefully there's no landmines. Should I be worried about saying that online? Are people gonna point to that and think worse of me? Am I allowed as an American to say that I'd massacre my entire squad? I just, like, what about this? I talk to the people in my squad, and I get their, like, a general feel for how they feel about the war in Canada, and then I just start shooting. I shoot the leader, of course, and I start shooting all the people that want to invade Canada, and the rest of them, I'm like, I hold them at gunpoint. I'm like, drop your weapons. You're marching with me. We're marching across the Canadian border. They go in front, though, so if there's any landmines or anything, they get hit. Not because, like, I want them to be hit, but because I just don't want to die. Because at this point, I'm descending into the same state of masochism as the rest of this nation, you know what? That's the truth of it, right? Who am I to be high and mighty and be like, oh, killing people is always wrong? That just makes me sound like a complicit centrist Democrat neoliberal. Neoliberal. When was the last good president in this nation? Barack Obama was, I'd say, was a well-intentioned as far as domestic things go, though abroad he was still bombing children, so... Maybe it was John F. Kennedy. John F. Kennedy got a proposal from the CIA to fake a terrorist attack against other citizens. It's called Operation Northwood. Do look it up, Operation Northwood. I'll pull up the Wikipedia article. We'll find a source. Yeah. Stage and commit acts of terrorism against American military and civilian targets, blame them on the Cuban government, and use them to justify war against Cuba. Let's look at our sources here. ABC. You know what? Let's go with the Internet Archive. Oh. Well, that's not good. That's probably a bad sign. How about this one? Can't get there either. This feels very worrying. ABC, I guess we'll take ABC News. U.S. military wanted to provoke war with Cuba. Operation Northwoods. And there's everything in the article. Of course, Kennedy rejected them because he was like, what the fuck? No, you can't just start bombing you're killing random civilians. No, you can't do that. That's a horrible idea. This is the reason that I genuinely do give credibility to the idea that George Bush might have staged 9/11. Because how could you say, would you say that George W. Bush would revoke a proposal to do that from the CIA? I don't think you could reasonably argue that George W. Bush had the spine to stand up to that, especially given how much he wanted a war in the Middle East. Look, look at how quickly the war went from the invasion and the killing of Osama bin Laden, right? A military operation to kill Osama bin Laden, and then to just invading Iraq, taking over Afghanistan and Iran, and quote-unquote teaching them democracy. We joke about that, but the reality is that's what the United States wanted, was to get the oil and get control. And it killed hundreds of thousands of civilians to do so. I am again going to come back to the question of how did we get here? How is it the United States of America became this? Is it because... What happened after John F. Kennedy? Is it white supremacy? Is it ingrained American exceptionalism? We think we're just special and above everyone else, and so we get to go into our nation and take it over for oil because it's for our people? Was it just an embolstered sense of ego after World War II? Was it World War I? And why is it that I'm surprised by this? Why is it that I'm so horrified and shocked with what's going on in America when I've seen the same thing happening in Russia, the same thing happening in China? What is it that makes me think that it would never happen here? Is it because... I almost wonder if it's a bit of an ingrained, chosen people mentality. We were all raised on this idea that liberalism was the final form of government. Then the neoliberals came over, born by liberalism, mind you. Neoliberals are not some external force. This isn't an exception to the idea of liberalism. Liberalism created neoliberalism. The idea that you should have freedom of opinion, but not freedom of choice, and no government services. Especially under people like Bill Clinton, although Bill Clinton was, he was in every way a neoliberal. Maybe he's what brought the Democrats to the right. I think it was Bill Clinton, because Democrats were losing with their leftist candidates over and over again because of the war on crime. War on crime and the war on drugs, fear-mongering from the Republicans, casting the Democrats as weak leaders. How did that come from liberalism? Maybe it's just the old good times create weak men, create bad times create strong men cycle. Up until Kennedy's assassination. But were there good times? There weren't good times. Economically, this country's had the Great Depression in the 1920s. That came out of... Was that not liberal? Was the United States not liberalist there, too? Maybe it is that liberalism in the United States never really existed, or at least in recent years. It wasn't liberal. Well, I guess neoliberalism is basically libertarianism, diet libertarianism. There still is a central government, but it's just another asset, another part of... It almost is like almost like a corporation itself. It's like a cartel. I think that's it. The government operates like a cartel. It's beholden to the money, not to the people who elect it. And see, neoliberals, like the Democrats, they forgot that it's not quite a cartel. Because the government is elected by people. And so you have people like Trump who come in to shake up the system. Because I'm trying to figure this out in my head, and it's a lot. I can't keep talking or doing key attempts when I try to think it out. And John F. Kennedy himself, his whole family got money off of bootlegging during Prohibition. Perhaps that's what the reality of liberalism is. The criminals who don't get caught get the resources to then buy out government. Or fund their own campaigns for government. Maybe the better question to ask is what the hell actually is liberalism? Did the United States ever have liberalism? We talk about individual freedoms and liberty, but does the United States actually ever give those? Did the United States ever actually give those? I mean, even since this nation's inception, we've had taxes and we've had vote. Well, we didn't have taxes originally, but taxes came pretty early on, and you can still be summoned to jury duty. So those are obligations too. I don't think those are wrong. I actually think those are important. Incredibly so. But it does go against the idea of liberalism. Liberalism, it promotes individuality, and then you have the government doesn't want to give people things, and then people who are struggling under the economy turn to fascism. Liberalism, it descends into fascism because you push people as consumers. You push people to think of themselves as assets, as individuals, and as everything they do as an asset. I mean, look at how many, even nowadays, you have people who are looking to apply to college who are doing volunteer work so they can put it on a resume. Not because they care about their community, but just so that they can get credit for it. The college essay tells you to write about your identity in a marketable way to a college. So you go and you blame, you point out all the ways you've struggled. There's something incredibly fucked up about this whole nation. The whole way that we see society. Like, listen, you can say that I'm a sadist or whatever for joking about shooting my entire squadron in the military if I get deployed. Which, by the way, I would fucking do if I get drafted, absolutely. If I get drafted, honestly, I'm not even waiting. The moment they do rifle training with a real gun, the moment I shoot one target, I determine that the bullet's loaded, I'm shooting everyone else. I'm just gonna shoot leadership down. I might hit some other people like me, but, you know. At that point, it isn't even about the future. If we're marching into Canada, it's like, what does it matter if I hit someone else that thinks like me? We're all gonna die anyways. I'm gonna die. You're gonna die. It's kind of not worth leaving someone. It's not worth the risk of leaving someone else alive who might shoot me to uphold their nation. If you look at it that way, this is so fucked up, and it's definitely gonna get people to. Thankfully, no one's listening to what I say here, so I can actually just say anything I want to. If I was a heartless bigot, I could just spew bigotry and no one's gonna care. Not even get ruled 9 for it because no one's gonna listen to these. They're 3-hour-long sessions of me doing gay jumps. Well, I guess I can say then, I'd feel real stupid if I was shooting the entire squad that I was training with, and then someone was like, wait, no, I hate America too. Leave me be. And I leave them, and then they just shoot me before I can even react, and now I'm dying on the ground. I feel really stupid for that. This is so sad. This is where I am. Alright, back to talking about liberalism. Liberalism, capitalism, and the individualism. I think this is why people are reporting lower satisfaction in their relationship. This is the core of why people aren't finding love as easily. You know, it's because they aren't thinking of their community, they're thinking of themselves. And so when they go into the dating sphere, especially if they're on something like Tinder or you know, the reason that Tinder does only really lend itself to hookups is because it is inherently a selfish. Right now, people are just in a selfish mindset because they're struggling to survive, and I can't blame them for it. Why am I only at 5,000 gauge jumps? How long has it been? It feels like it's been like an hour and a half. Bleh. Right, but like I can't blame Americans for being selfish and not being open to genuine love. They're having this population in every heavily capitalist country. This issue. Less people getting married, less people dating, because why would you date? It's not a marketable activity. Unless you go into dating with the idea of marrying up. But at that point, that's a zero-sum game. Every person who marries up, there's someone else who marries down. And if everyone's in this capitalist mindset, you know, that you'd look at that as being in the green or the red. That's a horrible mindset to have for marriage. And if someone's only looking to get into a relationship or into a marriage with the hope of bettering themselves personally, what kind of love is that? That's not. What kind of human connection? It's not even a genuine human connection. So no wonder people don't buy into that. It's like having, you know, your mom pay people to be your friends, except it's your wallet paying someone to be your sex servant. Which is exactly how the alpha males talk about, you know, what they want their woman to be. Their woman. Ugh. Made my stomach turn just saying that. I was picturing an image of Andrew Tate holding that sword in his head. That's how I get through saying this alpha male bullshit. That's how I just let it run out of my mouth, and I'm just pretending like I'm reading it being said by Andrew Tate. And then just imagining the pointing Wojaks. I really wish I could just, like, laugh at people like Andrew Tate. Not even laugh at them. I wish I could take people like Andrew Tate and just push them out of my mind and not consider them. I wish they weren't incredibly relevant to 2025 political dynamics. I fucking wish. But I don't get that. There's also the growing fear inside me that I'm saying my last words here. That any one of these videos, it might just be the last one I put out. Who knows? The police could come, randomly decide to take all... What if RFK convinces Trump to sign an executive order, everyone on Social Security disability gets dragged off to El Salvador? Not even to the labor camps. Those aren't built yet. I've said it and I'll say it again. I think the best thing I could do is check myself into one of those labor camps and try to start a riot. I would miss... I'd very quickly miss the internet, I think. But I'd probably be more focused on surviving. That or I just stab someone out on the street. I do have a... It's a little small, but maybe you can hear the click there. I have a new pocket knife I bought. I can imagine myself. It's like the perfect type for just rapid stabbing. So I can picture myself now stabbing J.D. Vance. It's good to at least have this. I was thinking about getting a gun, but it's such a process. And it is easier to shoot someone though. With a knife, there's the risk you get tased or shot running up to someone, then you're fucked and the person isn't hurt. With a gun, it's kind of hard to, especially if you like quick draw it. It's kind of hard to kill, or it's kind of hard to get stopped before you do damage. It's pretty easy to actually kill someone. This is the kind of shit that you could take that recording out of context and change a lot of people's opinions about me. Give me a stable home, Adderall, yeah, stable home, access to Adderall, and a hug, and that would fix me. 2 of those things would fix me. The hug wouldn't be enough to fix me. The hug is optional. Give me a stable home and access to Adderall, and I would be better. I'll be the greatest fan maker you have in your community, I swear to God. As I was trying to do before the developments. I really should just take out my pocket knife and be like, I have a knife. I can kill people with this. Great, great. Yep. Wonderful. Do we have any viewers here? Thankfully, no, not right now. Oh, that's not gonna sound good. That's the kind of clip that might just get me banned from Amazon, from Twitch. Yippee! Yippee! Wahoo! It is late at night, so I'm trying to keep my voice down. But I'm also just really, really tired. And I think that just comes through in everything I record. I tried to record a video of myself playing Manchin, which I might upload that. But I can't get myself excited about anything. I'm just so tired. Every day it's something new. Please. I don't know. Please give me some hope, America. Give me some hope. I don't see any hope though. I don't see any hope. And that's probably why I'm doing this, because I would be mortified uploading this normally, but fuck it, who cares what I look like? How sadistical and mentally unwell I look. It's not like anyone's gonna... It's not like I probably won't be here in 2 months. I said that 2 months ago. I said that 3 months ago. A little more than 3 months ago. I said, I'm probably not gonna be here in 2 months. But I was. Because apparently... You know, I feel like Republicans are probably using Social Security as the distraction. They've got they've got like a knife in one hand and a boxing glove in the other, and they're waving this knife so you freak out about that. You're just, I'm gonna cut your Social Security, I'm gonna cut your grandma's life savings, and then they're just whacking people with the boxing glove. At this point, just say it's brass knuckles. They've already destroyed the 4th Amendment. It was already dying under George W. Bush, but now they've completely disregarded it. What's next, First Amendment? They want to take guns away from people. Can't believe that, can you? Wow, it's like the only people who actually wanted guns in the end were the leftists. You know, the supposed anti-freedom leftists that want to destroy your personal freedoms and institute a dictatorship under AOC or whatever the fuck people say. Turns out we were the only people that really wanted you to have guns. The neoliberals don't like it. Because they want everyone to be subservient to the machine and the systems at play and to solve everything through democracy, which is, of course, heavily weighted in favor of the big companies. Neoliberals are the type that pass regulations only when the alternative is people getting sick and dying. Only when the alternative is people dying. And conservatives are the type that just want control. It's good cop, bad cop. I know everyone says that. There's nothing original I can say anymore besides just reciting a bunch of takes that I've heard. There's nothing new to say. I've said everything I have to say. The only real perspective I can give on this is that I think we should fight more. And I think that drugs should be deregulated, because I had personal experience struggling to get that and being fucked over by the system. Because I don't believe that there's a point in making someone suffer just for the sake of having them suffer. For the sake of some bureaucratic bullshit. No, I don't like that. So that's why I believe Adderall should be deregulated. I believe that deregulate Adderall, and everything else is just leftism. See, I'm more of the type of person to want to do something. I don't want to complain, I want to do. But right now, anything I do benefits the oligarchy. The oligarchy. It benefits the neoliberals, or it benefits the conservatives, or it benefits them both. Even things like running a soup bank, working at a food bank, volunteering for a soup kitchen, a soup bank. To be fair, that's what a food bank usually ends up being. I've seen a few. They have all the cereal you could ever want. They have all the canned soup, the canned beans, the canned corn. You know what they really need? They need sweets, and they need fresh meat. That's what they need to be able to. They need more of to give the consumers. Consumers isn't the right word there. That's what they need. They need more of to give their dependents, I guess, the dependents a decent life. And I know that conservatives will roll their eyes and be like, you don't need sweets, you don't need soda. RFK is trying to ban using food stamps for sweets and soda. Give them the dignity to have a cookie every once in a while, every day. That's what it means to have sweets, and for fresh meat, it's just it's dignity, but it's also the health. What's really heartbreaking is that in a system that claims that it believes in freedom and liberty, there are people who are working a full-time job who still need to depend on welfare to feed themselves and pay their rent. That's the real issue. If liberalism was truly about freedom, at least every person who has a job would have more than enough money for food and luxuries. No, we just end up in the worst possible iteration of communism, except with no government, no central control. Ineffective communism. You have the wealth disparity of communism, and the ineffectivity of capitalism, of libertarianism. I'm not trying to dodge the word capitalism. I know this is life under capitalism. This particular type of capitalism, though, I want to also highlight the fact that you can't make your way here, because this isn't pure capitalism. Pure capitalism is bad. I'm not saying we should have pure capitalism. But when you hear about intellectual property laws, when you hear about, at its core, capitalism, it's, in its purest form, it is just anarchy. It is libertarianism, but libertarians ignore the fact that libertarianism descends into anarchy. Capitalism, in America, every corporation is dependent on the government. They just claim that they shouldn't have to pay into the government. But they're dependent on it. Because when these when these resisting adults burn down a Tesla dealership, who's there to dissuade others from doing the same? The government. And right now, these companies are getting by paying their workers a minimum wage because the workers are able to survive off government assistance. In effect, Walmart is using welfare to subsidize its wages. Otherwise, if you work at Walmart, you would just die. And therefore, Walmart couldn't pay you that low. It seems weird to say because you don't want people to die, but we have to acknowledge the fact that this isn't pure capitalism. There is no such thing as pure capitalism. You're coming into an oligarchy. I think capitalism is one of those human It's one of those human concepts that just doesn't exist in it's one of those far off concepts you can't actually point to, because again, pure capitalist economy is just anarchy. Up until the second Trump term, America's had this mentality of you have personal choice of how you, I don't even know if I'd say personal choice. It's the illusion of choice. You can call yourself, you can change your name, you can color your hair, you can get tattoos, you can change your gender, but you still gotta work at Amazon, or you gotta work in the Barnes and Noble. That's another Amazon thing. You gotta work in one of these megacorps, and yeah, you could try to be an entrepreneur, but good luck. Entrepreneurship took off because it was just a way for people to get to roleplay being a business owner, because Silicon Valley was giving stupid loans for equity that they shouldn't have, in companies they shouldn't have been funding. You can get $400,000 loan from Silicon Valley Bank for your subscription dog food service. I don't have to make up examples. Juicero is a thing. It's a juicer, but less efficient, and it had millions of dollars of venture capital funds poured into it. It's the thing with America that drives me crazy. Venture capital runs this nation, but it is stupid as hell. Every bad thing you might say about communism being ineffective, or the government being ineffective, oh my god, look at venture capital. Let's take a short break, because I need one. I feel like shit doing these gate jumps. I'm so fucking bored. This is such a stupid oversimplification. This had millions of dollars poured into it, hundreds of millions of dollars poured into this device. You need an app for this. It needs access to Wi-Fi and a phone. It has a QR code. Fuck. Why does it need access to the internet? That's insane. It takes a minute to start this thing. The juice is already, it's a liquid. It's a dispenser. You've got all this internet connection, electricity, and you still have to make sure that the bottom of the bag of liquid is through the bottom of the press to avoid the whole thing just malfunctioning. Silicon Valley gets my blood boiling. I fucking hate all this tech shit. I know this one has been done. Like, I know that this is kind of beating dead horse here, but is it a NYPost? Of course it's a NYPost. Why wouldn't there be a NYPost? Nation's nutrition and obesity challenges. Coca-Cola to carrots to Juicero's rainbow fruits. Please actually fucking... Yeah, so this is the whole reason that it needs access to QR code. This is why it needs a QR code, internet, whatever the hell it's using there. But first, I think that's what the QR code does, allow it to connect to the internet. So you can't just connect to the internet normally. You have to get a phone to connect your juice press to the internet so that it can disable the bag that you purchase if there's a spinach recall. Consistent pressing so you get the same taste and nutrition every time. Connected data, so we have a tight supply chain. Okay, yeah, they want you to know how many bags are being used. The value is in how easy it is for a frazzled dad to do something good for himself while getting the kids ready for school. I have a carton of juice. I drink all the juice in this and then I throw it out. Like how you'd throw out those bags. Video produced by Juicero, taken down, of course. This whole conversation is so stupid. But my point isn't that Juicero is a bad product, because I could, that's just kicking a dead horse. My point is Juicero is a product that cost $400, got $120 million of venture capital funding for something that literally no one needed. No one needed this. This is what tech has become. It is a way, the modern day tech entrepreneurs, they don't have anything to add of value. They don't want to invent anything new because that's expensive. So what they do is they reinvent something you already have. And then they add on a bunch of fees. And in this case, make it connect to Wi-Fi. And everything connects to Wi-Fi now. It's every case it connects to Wi-Fi. It drives me insane to think about. Like, if I wanted to buy a car, how much effort do I have to go through on the dealership to find a car that doesn't connect to any, doesn't have a touchscreen, doesn't need a touchscreen, I can drive it. Now, I don't care if it's manual or automatic, but I do care if it's going to make me use a touchscreen to turn on things. And in the case of driving, it is dangerous. We've established as a society that you should not use electronic devices when you're driving a car on the road. And then we made it so that instead of having a physical knob that you can feel and touch, you have to navigate a screen that you need to look at it. And everything is being being turned into a worse version of itself by with some subscription model by these big tech companies. You go to buy it. Louis Rossmann did a video, which I really appreciate. I love Louis Rossmann's work. He calls this shit out like it is. He's one of my inspirations on doing this. That and that one Mario Kart Twitch streamer I was watching that I mentioned in the first episode. He buys a camera, and then it says that this camera that he purchased needs to be activated. And he has 3 uses. He can swipe to ignore the notification. The camera works fine. It just needs activation because the company wants it activated. But this is what happens when you have a society where we give money to people who contribute little value, and we attribute personal value to money. The CEOs of a company do jack shit. Look at Elon Musk. He's a CEO of like 8 companies at once, and he does jack shit. And then he just plays Pathfinder and argues that he's actually the top Pathfinder player. I don't know why he's doubling down so hard on this. He, as the CEO of 8 companies, he could be like, I play Pathfinder when I can. I'm not one of the top players because I don't have the time to grind it, but no, he has to be number 1 everything, so he just pays people to play it for him, which is ridiculous. We have these insecure man babies who are being seen as valuable because they make a lot of money. And they make a lot of money because they're in the right place at the right time. Elon Musk literally gambled $250,000. It was a gamble on Tesla. He made big, and then everyone just assumes he's a genius. So now he makes all his money off of selling ideas that sound stupid, but they come from a man who we've been told is a genius. They're stupid ideas. He had some like paint-on solar panel things, which is just a stupid concept that it will never work. It is, if you know anything about solar panels, you know that this makes no sense. Solar paint. Elon Musk's Tesla has done it again. Powering homes using clean energy. Elon Musk's Tesla has developed roofing tiles that double as solar panels to give solar power generation an aesthetic boost. Obviously, that doesn't work. It's not a real thing. Elon Musk lied, or as Tesla put it in his corporate, in their lawsuits, it was corporate puffery. You can't paint on solar panels. Solar panels are assembled. They have different parts. It's not one thing. It's not like the solar panel gets put on a large piece of plywood on top of your house and that makes your power go. You need wires that connect to the solar panels. The solar panels are made to collect energy from the sun, and then they wire it into your house. This is nothing new. It's just collecting the hydrogen. How? It's a paint. How is it supposed to assemble that? It's not like an amoeba that can just absorb it into itself. And by the way, this never took off. You cannot have this. It will never exist. It's a completely infeasible concept, and that's why you've never heard of it, probably. Elon Musk announced it, got a bunch of investor funds, and they did absolutely nothing with it. Did jack shit. Just like all these millions of dollars that get dumped into venture capital do jack shit for us. Boss, I'm tired. I'm tired of yelling the same things. And I know in my heart it doesn't matter. And that's why I can barely even be asked to do this. I mean, really, honestly, I'm mainly doing this for the 114514 clear. That's why I'll never take these videos down. Maybe there's some value that comes out of my political rant, but otherwise, it's just the 114514 clear. At this point, I don't think anyone's going to even listen to what I'm saying here, and they definitely aren't going to change. They're not going to change the nation. Five, 6, 4, 3, 9. You know, if I was getting any sort of revenue for viewership or anything, maybe I would be all like, here's what you do to help. Buy local. Support local businesses. Help out your neighbors. Volunteer at a soup kitchen or a food pantry. Run a clothing drive for kids. Run a clothing drive for adults. Donate to the homeless and all this shit. But the reality is we've had those services going, and they're just keeping this issue further going on. It just keeps the problem of capitalism. It infests everything. And it will take as much as it can take. You put in place a social support to help the poor, and then capitalism just adopts to make people depend on it. If there were no welfare, if there was no social welfare, the workers at McDonald's would just have to be paid more, because otherwise they wouldn't be able to live. Or McDonald's would offer them employee housing. That's probably what they'd do. You need to... The problem with liberalism is that the government doesn't want to restrict these companies because it's their freedom to make money. You need to, at a point, you need to force things. Because otherwise, yes, capitalism will just psych every little bit of life, and they will use any services you put in place to help people will just become the new norm, the new normal, the new standard of living. That's what, I mean, there are people who, again, work full-time at Walmart and are dependent on government assistance. They work full-time at any position that gives a minimum wage, and then they apply for welfare benefits. And they need welfare benefits. Hell, even $15 an hour isn't enough to live on now. Especially not if you have student loans. Which, again, in pure liberal mindset, they say anyone can go to college, you just have to take on the debt. And they push that everyone should go to college because it's a civil necessity. And yes, I agree that it is necessary to have people who are educated. And at the same time, I will proudly stand up, raise my hand, and say, I am the person who have been yelling for years that people should stop going to college. And then the Democrats say, oh, you must be a secret Republican. You must be trying to sabotage because you're promoting anti-intellectualism. No, I'm not promoting anti-intellectualism. And in fact, I think the biggest anti-intellectuals are the colleges that just push everyone through. And are censoring speech on campus that they don't like when it's about Palestine. Right? But you're expecting, Democrats are assuming that children will continue to go to college and get a education, and the economy is assuming that, even if the government doesn't provide the payment for it. They're assuming they can gaslight children at the age of 18 into signing away their future, to have $200,000 worth of student loan debt appended onto them. And people are saying the Trump administration is making life worse for students. Honestly, I don't even blame Trump for, I won't even point at that. I will blame Trump, but I'm not going to point at, I think people are pointing at is the fact that now these student loan payments, under prior administrations, the minimum payment every month was allowed to be very low, below the interest, which is obviously unsustainable. The idea there is that as long as you can keep people from bursting, you can put as much pressure on them as possible. So their debt will just continue to balloon, but they won't be bankrupt. So they won't lose their house, and they actually can't ditch the debt through bankruptcy. They want everyone surviving with as little as they may be. And Trump, what he did, which is stupid, but I'm actually kind of in favor of, is he just took that a bit away. He just took away the ability, the low payments. So now I think people are having minimum payments of $5,000 on their student loans per month, which people can't afford nowadays. You might not make that much per month if you make minimum wage. Even $15 an hour. Let me do some quick math. 15 $15 per hour times 8 hours a day, 9 to 5, times 5 days a week, times 52 weeks in a year. $31,000. Minimum wage is, well, not minimum, sorry. This is the living wage. Is $31,000. $31,200. I don't know what to say anymore. I've yelled and I've used whatever big words. At a certain point, it's just wow. Yeah. Wow. Crazy. Wow. 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 That's crazy. Unbelievable. Wow. 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 Maybe I'm disassociated. It probably is that. I kept on saying I'm going to dissociate, or I'm dissociating, or I've come back from dissociating, so I'm probably dissociating right now, and just don't have the ability to assess that. Cool. I don't know what I'm supposed to do about that, so I'm not supposed to do anything. We're not supposed to do anything. I'm doing gate jumps. That's what I'm doing. The only game I can reasonably play right now. Because I don't feel bad. Anything else I'm going to be snippy towards and not appreciate appropriately. This is the one type of art that I can at least, I feel like it matches me. This is where I am right now. I'm watching the country make the same mistakes over and over, get itself stuck in the same loops over and over, and I'm talking about that and I'm doing the same jumps over and over. truly the American experience right here. Hey, any fan gamers from any other countries want to offer me a place to stay? I need some citizenship, so as ironic as it is, I might have to not hate marriage XD in order to get that. Just push for the Canadian government to let us in. If Canada lets in migrants, refugees from America, I mean, you'd be taking in a really diseased population, but the Liberals and the New Democratic Party are going to have a whole lot of support from these new folk. You want to prevent Canada from falling to Conservatives? Bring in the Americans as refugees. That's actually probably the best idea. And honestly, I'd do military service to work in Canada, to live in Canada. If they said you have to serve in the military, look, I could, you know what I could do? I could be your military cook. I could probably do that. I could probably be awesome at that. Making thousands of meals. That's kind of my forte. Not cooking specifically, but like doing repetitive tasks, not physical tasks. I could do that. Teach me how to do it, I'll figure out how to do it. And then I'll be able to do it. Okay, I'm horribly inconsistent at anything, but I think I could push through for 2 years. I could at least get myself signed up for 2 years. I might be horrible at it. I might, like, never wake up on time or whatever. I might be groggy all day and... Or not groggy, but, like, spacey, you know. The ADHD way. But I can at least show up and keep working and get my citizenship. Come on, Canada, you know you want it. You know you want me. Okay, I'm getting to the point now where I've done this for too long and I no longer have anything to say, so I'm just gonna be a little weird. $57,004. 57004. I guess it's just watching videos and talking for articles. That's why I only have 7,000 jumps and 2 hours in. I usually do these for 3 hours, don't I? I guess it's like 3 hours, about 10,000 jumps per episode. Okay, fine. Maybe if I didn't die as much. That would only be like... If I never died, ever... I would have 65,500 would be where I was at if I never died. But that's unreasonable. I still would be only halfway. We are actually halfway, right? Yeah, we're at, pretty close to halfway. 'Cause 57,000 times 2 is 114,000. when it's 257 as the last 3 digits, that's when we'll be halfway. Halfway. There we go. Journey is half done. Maybe when I finish this, it'll just happen to coincide with the fall of the Trump regime. The fall of the Republican regime. But, like, that's not gonna happen. Because even if Trump gets impeached, they're going to put Vance in. I can see Republicans choosing to impeach Trump and claiming it's some bipartisan effort, just so they have Vance in the driver's seat. And if Vance gets impeached too for being complicit in all this, then it's Speaker Mike Johnson, or it's Mitch McConnell. Choose, pick your poison. And when that one's gone, it's the other. And Republicans still hold the seats in Congress, so they can just vote someone else. They vote another Republican up to lead. We should be outraged. People at every level need to be telling us. We need to be telling each other this should not be treated like it's okay. And we should be discussing this, and nothing else should be our priority anymore. I don't care if you have kids you need to feed. Sabotage your job. Just sell in. Don't try hard at work. You're not going to get a promotion anyways. We all know that they don't give promotions. They give, like, stickers and candy bars and shit like it's a kindergarten classroom. And by the way, if I ever had a job and they gave me a plastic water bottle as a reward for exceeding whatever threshold, or a pizza party, I am going to fucking leave. Like, I would just leave. I would leave. I'd leave, but I actually probably would just quiet quit. I'd just be like, what the fuck? This is insane. And then I just silently proceed to sell and everything. Honestly, I kind of want to get a corporate job like that, but again, I can't because I lose the benefits. But like, I kind of want to know, how much could I just yes man my way up? Be like, yes sir, I will get that done, and then just not do it. Yes sir, I'm working on that. Yeah, let's go over that at a meeting, and then I just go to the meeting and I'm like, well, our files aren't working. This is very odd. We've had a lot of issues with the system. It must be the AI co-assistant that you generated. That you force all of us to have installed on our work PCs. That's all I'm going to leave us with today. Nothing else is important right now. Now, if you want to play video games, or you want to, I don't know, go have a bunch of, go out, drink yourself to death, or have a bunch of hookups, do a bunch of drugs, do whatever the hell you want. That should be the takeaway of this. Do whatever the fuck you want. Nothing else matters. Our leaders aren't leading. Our economy is collapsing. The corporations aren't promoting. Our government is failing. Our law, the Constitution has just been disregarded. There is no law. There is no rules. There is no democracy. We don't have a democracy. When our elected leaders can ignore the Constitution, we don't have a democracy, we just have a dictatorship. It's entirely Trump's choice if he wants to succeed, even if he has a fair election. Because if Trump refuses to step down, who's going to stop him? The Supreme Court? And he'll ignore them. Congress? He'll ignore that too. Do you really think Republicans are going to vote to impeach Trump for not stepping down if he loses the election? They couldn't even agree to remove Trump from office after Jan 6th. When Trump chose to step down for Joe Biden. Respectfully, I don't... Nothing else matters. Nothing matters. Nothing matters. Do whatever the fuck you want. Let me get to 57... No, 5800. We'll go to 5800. And I will just repeat. Nothing matters. Nothing matters. Do what you want. You wanna make video games? Make video games. You wanna work in a corporate job and just sell in for extra money? Do that. There's no moral fabric anymore. You wanna go outside in the woods and start stabbing people? Go fucking do it. I don't care. I don't care. At this point, I don't care. It doesn't matter. No one should care. Nothing matters. Nothing matters. Go take a car and drive it through a Thanksgiving Day parade, like whatever that guy's name was. Go make a bomb and blow your hands off. Doesn't matter. Then go take your stumped body and run in a police officer, commit suicide by cop. It really doesn't matter. Nothing matters. It's over. It's over. It's over. Liberalism failed. The United States fell. 250 something years, and it fell. Is that true? 250? Go with that. 58,000. And that's it.